Boy, he's shrugging his shoulders and hanging his head. He's saying, I didn't mean to do that to Gabby, and because I'm labeling, but it's like the feeling of I didn't mean to do that, but I lost control of my temper, but it's more of a feeling of it. Okay, so it's the notebook, and what is in the notebook? I'm seeing a horse. The person that I'm seeing has a helmet, so it might not be Gabby. I don't know who it is, but I'm seeing a horse, a really nice looking horse, almost like, the ones where they have the little competitions where they jump over the pole. Thinking I don't know who that is, but definitely they just showed that. And Ricky. A normal course of law. Okay, so when Brian came home and Gabby wasn't with him, a normal course of law, a lawyer would say don't talk to each other about it because you can be called onto the stand if you do. So he likely, I can't say what he did for sure, but I'm not talking specifically, this is generally, he would have, an average lawyer would have told Brian and his parents not to discuss the issue at all. And that would be the part for cutting off the sister too, because the lawyer wouldn't say cut off the sister, but it's just easier than not to discuss it, to not pull her into it. It's actually doing her a favor to not pull her into it where she would be to testify at court. There's no such thing as a burner phone that's registered to your name. The whole point of a burner phone, it's like something, and I got a chill on my leg. The whole point, a burner chills on my leg, so that's what people need to know about that. I only got chills on my one leg. That's so funny because my broken leg is not getting chills for anything. But so anyway, it's kind of funny. You go into a phone store and buy phones, that's not a burner phone. If you buy a phone in your own name, that's not a burner phone. A burner phone is like what in these, you go into Walmart and you buy a phone for $10 or $20 that has some minutes on it, and then you can throw it away anytime. That's a burner phone. And I got a chill on my leg. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna do this. They're giving me stuff, so I'll turn. Oh, God. And then I do get chills on both legs. Okay, they're giving me stuff. So I'm turning off that music so you can hear me better. Again, I apologize for the sound, but for those of you who complained about the sound, at least see I have the quality to pull off that much with a $20 phone recorder. Could you imagine if I had someone here to set up a proper equipment? So, okay, so here, let me go back. And they seem to be wanting to give me stuff, and as long as they do that, then I'll continue. I already saw the murder, and then last night I invited Brian, but I got some things from Brian. There's a couple little things I might put about him, and it was like his explanation about his situation there. I don't want to put up any more about the murder. It's more detailed about the murder. It's more details. I don't think it will do any good for the public, for that. I think there's enough in the original reading about Gabby Petito's murder. There's a couple little things, and then there's a reason for what he did, and I was getting the cause of death, actually as of like cutting his wrists. I want to follow spirit. If spirit wants to show things, that's fine, and if they don't, yeah, so, how I see him at home, when he's tripping while he's driving. He is just tripping, and that's probably how he is able to get home so fast, so many hours, because his adrenaline is over the top of not a good feeling of adrenaline, really a bad nightmarish feeling of adrenaline. And then when it feels like, oh yeah, I got some little spirit energy on my legs, and then it feels like when he gets home, it's he almost can't even talk to his parents, really, like Brian, what happened? And then goes in his room and shuts the door without saying anything, and he's just sitting in his room with his hand in his head, totally freaking out. I lost Gabby. She was the one who loved me. I loved her too. Like, I can't believe I did this. And I'm sorry for people who don't like it. Like, I almost don't even want to put up even the one from the other one because it's from his viewpoint, and I don't want people attacking me like they think I'm Brian or something. What I'm to say is I don't know anything about their attorney privilege conversations, and even whether I was able to tap into that, I would not, because it wouldn't be appropriate. But I would say that generally speaking, an average attorney on an average criminal situation would tell all related people not to discuss it with anybody else. Like, anyone you discuss something with could be called to the stand. They kind of just go into this zone where they're not on familiar ground like the parents. They don't know, they're dreading, but they don't know. I think that they almost have a feeling of, they discuss it with each other a tiny, like, what do you think happened to Gabby? But it's almost like they're not talking about it either. It's almost like your worst nightmare or something. It's really, it's not like there's this open conversation at the dinner table. It's nothing like that. Brian's in his room with the door shut, both mentally and physically. And then the, little family vacation there pops in. It feels more like, it wasn't about like, oh, we're going to help our son escape by going camping, but it's almost like you're still not talking about it, right? You still don't know, but maybe you would hope that Gabby went home to her parents, but more like, this might be your last time to see your son before your world changes. Let me see. About simple times. And it feels almost like the father is still, he can't believe, like he wants things. Do you think something happened to Gabby? And I think it feels like they're hoping that Gabby went to stay with one of her friends or something. So it should be looked into. It's not blaming. You kind of like the word blame. Before blaming, it would be good to slow down the motion, slow down the momentum of hatred, and I'm talking about towards the Laundrie parents, by making so many assumptions. And I'm seeing, they keep directing my energy back towards the northeast of the United States. Now, I know that's where Gabby's mom and stepdad live, and then, if I'm correct, I don't know, I'm not saying this but then the father and his girlfriend lived down in Florida or something, maybe, or did. I don't know. Anyway, they're directing me up that. So, but they're showing me, Brian Laundre's parents are, in their minds, it's not a, hey, everything's all right. It's in their minds, they're hoping that Gabby is just staying with a friend. And they don't want to get in the middle of it. And they do want to protect their son, but it's not that they want to protect their son from murder, because I don't feel like Brian told them that. I think they're worried. They feel worried to me. They're worried, and Brian, it's like, you're not supposed to talk to anyone. Anyone you talk to can be called onto the stand. It's a situation that is a nightmare for any parent. And then I'm seeing curtains. Curtains. What the curtains are about. I'm seeing curtains. That must look like the kind that would be in a kitchen or by a back door, or, on a back door, those. Yes, I'm directed again to the northeast of the country. So they're really hoping, like, really deeply in their minds, they're hoping that Gabby is off staying with a friend, and that Brian's just so upset, maybe because he thinks they're going to break up or something. Like, they're really hoping that. And they're very worried about Brian. They weren't walking around knowing or believing that Gabby was dead. Up until that body was found. No, they were hoping. And it feels like they wanted, or she wanted, Brian's mom would have liked. It's not like she was trying to make him do anything, or, but she was hoping Gabby was just, like, they had a fight and he dropped Gabby off to go stay with a friend or something like that. That's what she was hoping. And so a reason for not answering those phone calls was she just wanted them to break up. She felt that, let me get it good because I don't want to be putting words in something. The feeling I get from tapping into her energy is she felt like that Gabby is just slapped Brian over and over or something, and so she felt that Gabby provoked him, but then not quite. I'm not saying exactly right. So it's not exactly right, but it's a feeling of something. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, I see. Yeah, Gabby. Okay, slaps him over and over and over on his arms, not his face. But then, so it feels like Roberta Laundrie feels like it's a unhealthy, dysfunctional relationship from the get-go. Like, I would just say, I don't even know if I want to repeat it because people might get, she feels like Gabby's needy. She feels like he's not good for her son Brian. It's not that she dislikes her on her own. She just feels like the relationship, like, say this. It's not that she dislikes Gabby. It feels like she feels like the relationship it's like oil and water or fire and ice. They might be attracted to each other and have an effect on each other, but it's not healthy or something. It's along those lines, it feels like. A little spirit energy on that. So I wouldn't be quoting this woman and saying, she said you think that. It's just more like a feeling I get when I'm tapped into that energy. That it's like this unhealthy relationship. So she may have even, if there was any messages, she may have just deleted them without even listening. Like, didn't want to hear it. Just like hope, thinking, because between all these parents and allegedly, I don't know if it's true or not, allegedly, Gabby lived on her own for a couple of years before being with Brian even. So the fact that Brian had the van the father feels even more sure that Gabby's probably just staying with friends or dropped off. The thing that made them concerned was Brian's frame of mind, right? And they even said that on the news thing, but that's what I'm being shown again. So even when he came home, Brian's frame of mind. Other than that, I mean, they feel like, oh, they got in another fight again. He probably dropped her off, up by her parents' house or up by, New York or wherever she used to live, North Carolina or wherever, or somewhere, they didn't see, oh, Brian came home in Gabby's van, she must be murdered. That is the farthest thing from their mind. But the fact that Brian's so upset, they were concerned about his mental health, but it doesn't feel like they're concerned at that point. They weren't concerned that he did something to her, like that wasn't there. And it feels more like he goes straight to his room and he's just totally freaking out. It feels like he says, I hurt Gabby. It doesn't say he feels like I killed Gabby. And then just the way he's acting, that's why they called their lawyer friend. It wasn't like, hey mom, dad, guess what I did? And then laying out this whole plot and then everyone making a plot. That was not what happened in their house. I'm just gonna let everything clear. So, and again, I'm only saying what I'm being impressed on. So don't blame me and argue with me as if I'm making a case or something, you know? So I'm seeing going into the reserve, that trip. Let's see. So are we going to go into the reserve with Brian or his parents? Because they just showed me going into the reserve and I don't know which trip it is. It's like the area where they found that white bag. I think it's going to be so interesting to see what Brian wrote in a journal of his. But like I said, I feel like it's a confession. I feel like he writes a confession. And it's not a coward's way out. Okay, so like I heard someone say, okay, I got spirit energy too. Okay, I mean, you might think it is, but in his mind, what he was doing was not escaping justice. That's not what he was trying to do. What he was trying to do is meter out punishment for himself for what he did to Gabby. I don't deserve to live either. If I killed the woman I loved, right? He says, like, the only woman I ever loved and stuff like that. And the only woman that ever loved me like that kind of feeling. I don't deserve to live, and I'm doing everyone a favor type of feeling. Interesting enough, the other day I saw him slashing his wrist, but now I see, and I know they said he didn't shoot himself or they didn't know the cause of death, but it's like I see him holding a gun to his head. So. And it could be symbolic for suicide. Isn't that weird? I got spirit energy. It could be symbolic for just suicide, but I'm not sure, so we'll just see. But it's definitely more of a feeling of I don't want to be alive without her, but also it's not a feeling sorry for her. It's almost like he feels like he needs to do justice for himself. It's going to be easier for everyone in the long run or something like that. I deserve it. There's a big I deserve it. I'm seeing some mountains. I don't know if he sketched some mountains in his book or something. When I say I wonder if he sketched some mountains in his book, then I have a wondering feeling. A wondering feeling is about 4 levels down from seeing something. But it's just a wondering feeling like, wow, could he have written where Gabby's body is in that journal? I don't know. I don't know. It's like there's being there, there's communicating with the spirit, there's just getting, psychic stuff, and then a feeling, and then I think wondering would be like the lowest form of potential. It feels like the parents have really been broadsided, It does not feel like there's any evil intent. It does sound like maybe they wanted to be able to talk by phone where they're not being tracked, but not necessarily with the plan of Brian running away, just in general, just because of the legal situation. So it's it doesn't feel like, oh, here, you go escape here and we'll call you where to drop the supplies. It doesn't feel, there's nothing like that, like all the stuff that people say. It's just, I don't see it there. I see, and needing to have, like, lawyer confidentiality if your phone's tapped and stuff like that. But the fact that he left his phone at home when he went for a walk, the father is, when he does that, it's almost like he's broken at that point. hollow, crying, The mother is attempting to keep things under control by not appearing to overreact because she knows how upset the father is. And this has nothing to do with John Q. Public. I feel like saying that. It's not me. I never said John Q. Public, but it feels like it has to do with taking care of my son and taking care of my family and my husband and letting things sort themselves out. And it feels like the father is having almost like kind of an anxiety reaction when they find the body, and not because of wanting to cover anything up, but just because he's having to, it's too much for his mind to even fathom that his son could have really done this, and he loves his son very much, and he knows he has some problems, but he was doing so well, and Gabby was doing so well, and he just wanted his son to be happy. So now I'm seeing Brian leaving. And so the reason they don't want him to leave, right? They even said that they didn't want him to leave. So everyone's saying, oh, they helped him run away. But here they are trying to actually keep him home because they're worried about his state of mind. And they don't know what's going on either at that point. But I'm seeing Brian saying, I just need to get out of here for a walk and just go spend some time for myself. I might be gone a few days, just don't worry about me and stuff like that. And I do see him get in the Mustang, so I'm not sure if his mom dropped him off at the preserve, but it wasn't to go hide. Oh yeah, his mom might have dropped him off there actually. But see, it wasn't to go hide. The purpose of them thinking, they were worried about him because of his emotional state. Not because they thought he murdered, they didn't believe it until the body was found. They were worried that could be a possibility of all of them, but they thought it was more likely. It feels like they really believed, or were telling themselves that Gabby was in another state with friends or something, like they had another fight. And Gabby came home without her, and within, in a couple weeks they'll work it out, but right now Brian's all, losing it or whatever. And let's see. So I'm seeing him walking into the preserve. So he's crying, his nose is running. He knows what he's gonna do. I think he's crying more because he can't change what he did, and what he's doing to his parents, and he knows it's gonna hurt them and stuff. But in the long run, this will be better, and I don't deserve to live if, after what I did to Gabby type of feeling, so not a self-pity thing, and not a coward thing, oh, I'm gonna kill myself so I don't have to go to jail. It's a thing of retribution but he's the judge of himself or whatever. And he judges himself to not be worthy to even be alive. A lot of people would agree with that. He's allowing himself to have a total meltdown. Almost like trying to push the table over, or wherever. And see, we all know there's a notebook now, so every time they start showing the notebook, I go, well, you know what, everyone knows, and I know we already saw the notebook. But it does feel like it's going to be really interesting to see what he wrote in there. And I feel like he's just crying, alligator tears the whole time. It feels like he wants to apologize to the families of Gabby Petito. And, like, because I could see, like, all these people lined up, like, a family portrait, but then both extended families in it. And if apology is not accepted, it's fine, but he feels like, he's desperately wants apology to apologize, whether they accept it or not. He feels like he did the only thing honorable that he could do, considering what he did to Gabby, which was to end his own life. So it was nothing about taking the coward's way out, like someone said, or avoiding justice, like someone said. It's all about, one, I can't live with this, and two, I don't deserve to be alive. I don't deserve to be alive after what I did. He feels a little bit like Gabby pushed him. Why did you push me? And don't get mad at me for saying that. That's just, when people go over in spirit, sometimes it takes them a little while to work out their issues too, but there's a lot of spirit guides over there and stuff that help with it. I've seen Cassie, the sister. He puts his hands together like when you pray, and he just says like apologies. I hurt so many people, and I'm so sorry to each and every one. Under the circumstances I did, that I'm doing the only honorable and just thing. Like, that's going to be probably the kind of bottom line feeling out of what he's saying or writing in the preserve or whatever. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I see the parents with the white thing. It would have been, the parents don't need to plant evidence, because upon finding the remains of the death of their son, they could turn the diary over, then the case is over, essentially, as far as prosecution for the son. They could, find that journal in his room, and it could be that since he didn't come home, they don't go through his room he is a grown man. Just because he moved into his parents, he's not a little child where you're supposed to go in, he could leave for a week or whatever. I mean, they were worried about him, but what I'm saying is, okay, say he had his journal at home. What would be the point of bringing it there? They go, oh, we just found this journal or whatever? No, because they could have just said, we found this journal in his room, and given it to the police then afterwards, if they chose to. But even the FBI guy said the journal was wet, maybe. I don't know the deals, but it feels like they did not. There wasn't the hanky-panky that people think. They don't actually accurately understand the situation. Like the lawyer said, Brian was just inside the gate or wherever you go in, not that far. So, but I'll tell you, I just keep also getting mother's instinct. But it's not like they had to go halfway into the middle. They walked 5 miles into the middle of the preserve and then found the body. It was like the body was right by the gate. Brian only just went right in there and, sat down for a while and then did what he did. He planned on doing it, and he did what he did. And see, this is the thing. This is so weird. Like, now I'm getting cutting the wrist again. And I don't know, maybe he was hoping an alligator would eat him. Like, he wanted to suffer like he made Gabby suffer. So, it's really weird. So that's the multiple times I've got that. And then when I said that one time, I go, well, maybe he shot himself in the head. I didn't know if that was symbolic for suicide. Because it's like, I keep seeing him cutting his wrist long ways. And I don't know if he did, I might be wrong, but that's the 4th time I've seen that. Yep. I'm seeing it again. Okay, so I'm not trying to make claims or nothing. This is what I see. He leans against the tree too. Ugh. While he's doing this. Okay. So, it's like I deserve to die. I think he would have felt he deserved to be eaten alive by an alligator. Like, that's how he feels. And he isn't even thinking about avoiding jail or this or that. He's just like, he wants to punish himself and end his life. He doesn't deserve to be alive. And that's how he feels. And he feels like I'm doing the best thing for everyone, but it's more, I don't deserve to be alive. And without my Gabby. But I don't know if he calls her that. He might have a pet name for her, but it's like, that's who we're talking about. I don't feel like he wants to be found for a little while. I don't think he wants to hurt his parents any more than they already are. He feels apologetic to them for bringing, all this on them, and he didn't want them to have to find me like this. And then it's just blankness. And so, I'll edit the one from the other day and put up this clip because I'm being shown it again. So, on the other side, how it feels is, you know how in the books they show Daniel in the lion's den? There's no real lions around, it's just empty. There's only a little tiny bit of light coming through the top. And he's in kind of like a hollow pit by himself, and it's like you're immersed in the energy of what you did, and it's almost like being shocked or something. But you feel like all the pain of everyone, you feel it all at once. And he's on his knees, in repentance, but it's a necessary time period. It's what they do on the other side. They can take it from here. Like, people don't have to worry that he got off easy, or he is already facing, on that side there's repercussions as well. And he will be paying a price for the amount of time that they deem appropriate punishment, or but it keeps overlapping with his parents. They keep putting his parents in front of me again, and it's like, well, they're showing me, even though it's like only a skeleton, so if even that, you would, I don't know, personally I would, but they show me a gravestone. See, that could be figurative or literal also, because you would think logic would say they would probably, even if they make something in their backyard for themselves to look out for their son, they're crying for their son, they say when the father went out to mow the lawn, people, how unnerving. And now he was having an anxiety attack. He mentally couldn't even cope with the news of what occurred, because now this is their worst nightmare. They didn't really believe that was the possibility until they found this body, and so it's like there's all this adrenaline to go work off. And so that father of Brian is hurting a lot, and Brian is very sorry to his father and to his mother, but he had a little bit more problems with his mother. So she feels like she had to be more just the one that was a disciplinarian, or just trying to deal with behavior. Is just more the one that had to deal with stuff. So their son murdered Gabby. And that's a horrible feeling for them to have to face, that their son. So it's a whole different thing. Like, people aren't thinking about it, but they have to come to terms with their son, the monster. Their son came, or what he did, as well as losing his life. And it feels like the mom would have liked Brian to break up with Gabby. Like I said earlier, I'm getting that feeling a second time though, so that's why I'm saying it. So I'd just say it however many times, tying it back into it. Yeah, and I get way spirit energy. It's not that she didn't like Gabby for Gabby. It's that she felt the relationship was toxic, and that it pushed Brian to the edge a lot, or I don't even know if about a lot is the right, but just she felt that the relationship between them, like she didn't feel Gabby was bad or didn't deserve or not good enough, not like that, but she felt that while Gabby could bring out the best in Brian, she could also bring out the worst in Brian. This is what the mom feels like. Like she saw some dysfunction there. When Brian came home, the mom thought at first, like, good, he dropped her off at one of her friends. Maybe if she stays there for a week, they'll both realize, that this isn't a good thing. Or they need space from each other. He didn't run in and tell his parents what he did. That's what I'm getting. So, and again, please do not write to me or comment to me that I should have said Brian felt this way or that way. I'm just saying whatever I'm shown. That's all I ever do. He's just showing me kicking a book up in there and it flips around and he catches in his hand. It's one of those books he's reading, but I don't want to get into seeing. He's showing me again by the river, but he showed me all that yesterday. It was just more details about it. He just flipped out. Now, there's something about the book, but it could also be nothing to do with the book. He's trying to tell me, or it could be, living vicariously through the book. I'm not willing, because I already did it. I did it the other night. I don't know the benefit of uploading it. I already uploaded one before, they were searching or whatever. It's just more detail. Okay, so he's acting like that he feels that he had already started physically abusing her, but he knew he just wanted to get away from her really bad, and it feels like I'm just seeing him choking her some more. See, I'm not willing to go through this again. He's still at a part where he blames some of it on Gabby, and I'm just not gonna accept that. I'm not gonna look into it today. He will be taught. He will learn over there where he's at. He'll learn all these lessons. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to go into his whole murder scene again. I'm just saying, like, Brian, do you have anything else you want to say before I stop? And it's just that I'm sorry to everyone and then I'm seeing, so I'm sorry to everyone, and then I'm seeing, the area where Gabby's remains were found, and then when I'm seeing the area, like, where his remains are found, is I did what I had to do to rectify the situation. He might not use that exact word, but that's kind of, we went through that earlier, so he felt it was, what he was doing to himself wasn't more an eye for an eye. It wasn't about it. It doesn't even come into the equation about, I don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life or this. He's not even thinking that. He's like, I don't deserve to live. I did this. He can't believe he did it himself. And kind of like after he did it, it went in and out of reality for him. It's like 1 minute trying to get away, and the next minute he can't believe he did that, and then the next minute trying to get away. It's kind of like going like on a wave like that. His rapid cycling. The events that transpired seem like they've been grossly misunderstood.